Hello and welcome to This is Ibrox podcast. This is your immediate post-match reaction to Rangers 4, Dundee 3 at Dens Park this evening. I'm struggling here with my throat because of the celebrating there at the end of that game, which I'm sure a lot of people are in the same position. And yeah, what a thriller. Some game of football. I'm joined by Iain tonight to go through it. Iain, first of all, how are you feeling? That was some game of football, really, wasn't it? And to get the result at the end of the day, we'll take that, won't we?
Yeah, what a game of football and what a range of emotions over 90 minutes. That was absolute chaos. The absolute frustration that was going through all of us, I'm sure, for the first half mainly, then most of the second half, the way it turned out. But you get a win in the end. I guess that's always the most important thing. I know we'll come on in a lot more detail, but the character in that team today was pretty impressive. You've said that a lot, obviously, since Ferguson came in, but 2-0 down. There's still a way to go. Obviously, make it 2-1. You think, okay, we'll kick on here, but to lose the goal, to go 3-1, and not even just the goals, the fact we weren't playing very well at all through most of that, like the sloppy passing, the defensive issues, the just bad decision making up front. I think we were both prepared for a very negative pod the more that game was going on, but in the end, we're both sitting here smiling. It's just very Dessers, wasn't it? Just the end, and of course it's him. Of course, it's his 10th shot of the match that goes in, but. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So as much as we want a nice, quiet 2-0 type pod, not what we're getting as always.
Yeah, typical on a Saturday night. It's going to be a wild one, isn't it? Yeah, I think my notes have had to change significantly because I was quite negative in them throughout that game. And I think it's fair to say, maybe 55, 60 minutes of that game, Rangers didn't play very well. But I did think in that second half, they showed a lot of character, like you said. Maybe that first half was a performance that was seen under Philippe Clement, the previous manager. But that second half was a performance that I don't think you would have seen under Philippe Clement. That type of comeback in these players, I don't think you would have got that level of performance. So, yeah, I'm proud of the performance in that second half, and the result when you're 3-1 down away from home. And I know you're playing against a Dundee side that haven't been the best this season, but they were clearly right up for it today. I thought they played really well. And to be honest with you, if you look at it, take the Rangers perspective of it, a draw was probably a fair result when you look at the chances for both sides, but I'm not complaining. I'm going to take the win all day. And like you said, Cyriel Dessers the one. Typical that he grabs it because, in my notes, it's fair to say I haven't been very nice towards Cyriel Dessers, but that will obviously change now with the winner. Let's just jump into Iain because there is a lot to go through. And this is just a small point at the beginning because probably not too. There's not really worth going into too much detail on it, but we chose to remain with the 5 at the back starting this game today. It was Butland in goals, Tavernier at right wing back, Sterling, Suter, Balogun, Redvan at left back or left wing back. The same 3 in the middle you would expect: Raskan, Diamande, Barron, and then it was Igaman replacing Czerny, who's got a slight hamstring issue, with Dessers up front. Hindsight's a wonderful thing in this all the time, right? But what did you think initially when you seen that 5 at the back? Did you think it was something that was, a shape that would work against a Dundee side? Would you have liked to see have changed, regardless of you've seen the game now? What did you think before the kick-off?
It's a hard one because for me it's a formation that we've finally landed on. It seems to work, but I think, as probably most people think, it only works in certain games. If you're not going to have most of the ball, or at least that kind of half of the ball, I feel you need an extra man up front. You need somebody else to kind of be more of an attacking threat because we've basically had guys in there that weren't going to score or create a goal. Your 3 centre-backs aren't going to do much. Barron and Raskin aren't exactly known for creating goals, so suddenly it's putting a lot of limitations on them and stress on other guys to do something. But at the same time, if Czerny's out, there's really not much more sort of change you can do there. The easier one, I guess, would be to bring Hadji in for Czerny and try and keep that same sort of shape going, but with Igaman coming in, I thought it made a bit of sense, just putting the 2 more up front than Czerny's going to be and just see how it got on, because ultimately we're not we've been doing well recently, so it would be a bit daft for me for Ferguson to just go back to something that doesn't work anyway, kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I saw the logic. I think it's a shape that we're still quite new to, so it makes sense to just kind of reinforce it again, keep it going for the kind of bigger games that are coming. But I wasn't really complaining with the starting lineup, so it would be remiss of me to go back now and say, oh, this didn't work, that shouldn't have happened, even though some of those performances and selections didn't quite work out. Obviously, as 5 subs proved, I think we got better the more subs came on in a weird, which was very unlike us, but it worked out well in the end, obviously. But it was tough going at times from the start of that game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I actually agree with you there. I wasn't too bothered when I seen the lineup. I understood it. I think, yeah, a lot of the points you've touched on there. I think if you are playing with the back, I think it is very difficult to try and dominate the ball. And I think Dundee kind of realised that, and they pressed us really high. And I don't think we were able to play through it at all. I thought the addition of Rice in the second half made a big difference for us playing through. I thought just having someone designated there, because Raskin's a bit of everything, right? He can do a bit of everything. And Rice just became that kind of sitter, and it was someone that they could use just to play out. And I think it helped us at times in that second half. I just wonder, won't spend too much time on it. There's a podcast tomorrow night, of course, that we can go through these things in more detail. But I just wonder if that first half might have changed their perspective on this going forward in terms of that shape against other teams domestically. I still expect to see it in Europe. I just wonder if we'll change the shape next week at home to Hibs. It'll be an interesting one to look at, because based on that first half, I'm not sure he'd be able to go back to that straight away. But let's just jump into the game itself. Usually I come onto this and I try and fill the first thing. I say, we started quite well, or the other team, but there's not really, obviously there's not a lot to talk about. Dundee, they start the game fast, right, and they get a set piece, and it's a Simon Murray finish. It's actually a really good finish, to be honest with you. He does well to get across. Thinks James Tavernier should be a wee bit stronger, but he finishes it in the bottom corner. Jack Butland's got no chance, and again, Iain, we're off to a poor start in these domestic games. What were you thinking at this point?
Yeah, I saw a bit of complaints about Butland for this first goal. I just think it's a really good finish, to be honest. And yeah, Tav could be a bit stronger, could try and get there first, but Tav's job is probably thinking, right, he's not getting the head on this. I'm going to stop him getting the header, stay tall, stay beside him. You don't expect someone to wrap their foot around it and put it in top corner. It was very like the goal that we conceded to Fenerbahce, the first goal. Obviously different side and different angles and stuff, but just right in the top corner, sort of looping over the goal. It's a great finish, to be honest. So as much as it's annoying to see us concede, I thought, right, it's early enough, just a set piece. Let's try and screw the head here, keep the ball down and get some attacks going of ourselves. But it never really transpired. It kind of became that, oh God, we're getting beat now. Heads drop, I don't want the ball, kind of starting to hide for it a bit. And it wasn't a good start. It's just what we do domestically now, obviously. It's been a few times now. It's been 2-0 to the opposition very early, which it's given yourself quite a mountain to climb. And yeah, we get away with it today again. And I'm trying to stay positive as much as possible here. But on another day, that could have went against us massively there. But yeah, I'm sure going to second goal as well. That one is a lot more annoying for me. Sort of individual moments in there, which I'm sure we'll discuss.
Yeah, certainly we do have a problem domestically the way we start games, and this is not just under Barry Ferguson. This has been under Philippe Clement. We've actually seen it under previous managers, Michael Beale, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. We've seen this. Obviously, it's the group of players has changed over time, but there just seems to be this issue. And I don't know if it's a motivation thing. I don't really understand it. I'm sure if you sat down with these players or the management staff and you asked them what actually is it, can you pinpoint it? They couldn't, right? It's just something in these fixtures just doesn't seem to get the best response out of us. And I've actually got that exact quote in my nose, mountains to climb. You're making it difficult for yourself. You're giving the opposition something to hold on to. And to be fair to Dundee, what I will say is they didn't exactly hold on to it and sit back, right? Dundee went for it. Dundee were really, really good today. And you have to be fair on that. But yeah, the start of the game for us is something we really, really need to address, because you're not always going to turn it around like that, are you? You're not always going to turn every single game around if you're a goal down. So, and I remember the statistic early on this season about, how many games we'd conceded the first goal. It is ridiculous. It's daft, and it's something we definitely need to negate.
Even beyond like the goal thing, like obviously the goals are obviously a problem, but I feel like we start games so slow from a lot of angles, like giving away corners, giving away like cheap free kicks. The passing is horrendous. Sloppy the best word for it, because you want these players to go into a game going, right, let's dominate here, let's take the bull by the horns and go for this. The way they do in Europe more often than not. Yeah, it comes to domestic, like it's just a very like. It sounds stupid after winning 4-3, but it does seem like they're like, we'll probably win anyway. Like, there's just not that care, that attention to detail, whether it's like your passing, your movements, your little 1-2s, just to kind of get the sharpness going, pin the other team in. We just don't do that. And then it takes one big loop ball into the box and we're all sweating. So, yeah, it's some laugh, it really is.
I think this team at time are waiting for others in the side to do something to spark, right, and to get people going. And unfortunately, if everyone's doing that, the spark isn't going to come, is it? So, and we've seen that again today. I'm keen to get through as many of the negatives as possible so we can get to the positive at the end of this game. I'm well aware if people are listening to this and going, wow, we've just won 4-3, but we are going to go through the game. We'll try and get to the good stuff, obviously. This one is it's a difficult one for me just because of how good Jack Butland's been in recent weeks with some of the big saves he's made, but it's a howler, right? There's no other way of putting it. I've said it a few times on my Twitter and things like that. I think it's a concentration issue with Jack Butland. I really do. I think in those moments, because we've seen similar against Motherwell, I think he's focused on his next action rather than just gathering it. Does that make sense? Like he's focused on, once I've gathered this, I'm going to throw it out to the left back or whatever, and he's just losing his concentration, and the ball's just hitting off him, and it's too late. And we've seen that again. And again, Dundee capitalising. What were your thoughts on this one? And Jack Butland overall, is this something that we're probably going to have to address in the summer?
It's getting to that point, isn't it? I thought we'd kind of moved past it, and obviously he's had 4 or 5 games in a row there where he's been pretty solid, made some really good saves, and you think, okay, is he over this? Was that just a little blip? But if a blip continues and then continues, and it kind of gets to the point you think, well, something to address there, clearly. Because don't get me wrong, I still think Butland's our best goalie. I still think he's the best option for that role. But if you are sort of the blame of a goal or so every couple of games, that's unforgivable. Kind of. And this one, just like you say, it's so amateur because anyone can just grab a ball. Like it's like you say, as if he's thinking, right, I'm going to catch that anyway. So let me just think who's the next pass on, and it just chests it basically. Don't get me wrong, there's a few other errors in there. Like Sterling could come out quicker. We could have other guys running in rather than just the attackers. But if Butland catches that ball as he should do, then this isn't a conversation that we're having. So. Yeah, I don't know how you fix it. I don't know if it's just a case of we need to look at another goalie going forward, but it's just really starting to grind on me, these major errors that Butland's making every few weeks. Yeah,
they're definitely becoming major errors. I think I really like Jack Butland. I do think he's a fantastic shot stopper, but I think this is something that the club are going to have to look at in the summer because this is repetitive now. We're seeing these errors consistently. And, it's always said as Rangers goalkeepers, you might not have a lot to do. Recent weeks we have had a lot to do actually, and he's made good saves. But in those moments where you're just expected to kind of gather it and deal with it, he's not doing that. And you're giving, like today, thankfully we've got the win in the end and we've won it. But you're giving Dundee a 2-goal lead, and most games it's going to be very difficult to come back from. Not today, obviously. Okay, let's move on to one of the positives for Rangers at this point. It has an own goal from Joe Shaughnessy. It's a great ball in actually from James Tavernier. Yes. It's a big slice of luck, but I think at this point in the game we maybe started to get a little bit of momentum. We weren't playing great, but we did start, I think, creating chances. I think Dessers in that first half, we'll maybe have a conversation about him towards the end, but this might have been after his third chance maybe. So we definitely had opportunities to take, reduce the deficit in this game and get a goal. And yeah, it's a big slice of luck, but we definitely needed that point, didn't we? Yeah,
it is luck. I get that totally, but it's also a brilliant cross at the same time. Like Tav sort of forces a mistake to happen, which is what we need. We need someone to kind of step up and do something. And yeah, he maybe didn't directly do it, but he made the goal happen at least. Like you say, I think we were starting to play a bit better. It's as if Igaman came into the game a little bit more. He could have had a couple of assists with those chances you mentioned. The one, I'm going to get mixed up. Also, we're just fresh off the game here. I don't know if it was at 2-1 or...
It's easy to get mixed up with Dessers' chances, and he had about 12 of them today. So I don't know how you'll be able to narrow this down.
There's the one he missed. The one that Igaman sort of chips over a defender, and Dessers kind of through, but gets caught with the left back. Again, it's fair. But the one that Dessers does a little pirouette after, it's brilliant for Dessers to that point. You think, just put it away. Just don't hit it off the goalie. Just straight down his neck. So that we're at least making chance at this point. That's what I meant. At 1-0, you think we're fine. We'll kind of grow into the game a bit here. But when it goes 2-0, my fear was, I'm just going to chuck it. Kind of thing like, right, we don't really care about this game. We're focused on European stuff. But they did start to at least try, and we're getting some good attacking plays going, at least starting to build towards something. And as you say, if Dessers has his shooting boots on early on, we're suddenly 2 each, 3-2 up even before half time, and it becomes a much easier afternoon. But of course not. Of course they do it the hard way. It's just what we're going to do. This is to be a serious point though. It was a thing for me at that point, thinking we don't have Czerny, so who is going to go do something here? Because it has been Czerny, and maybe it was to have Cross, maybe it was so Igaman coming out again a bit more, but it did seem like a couple of them were trying to step up at least. Like some who have not seen a lot this season, it's been a kind of, well, he's not doing anything, so I'm not doing anything, or someone will do something kind of thing. So at least they had a few bodies trying to at least influence stuff.
Yeah, I actually, we probably won't mention him a lot actually for the rest of this podcast, but I actually thought Hamza Igaman was quite good today actually in terms of creating chances. He maybe wasn't that's great in front of goal when he had his own shots. He had a few, but they didn't really trouble Trevor Carson. But I thought creative, he's actually quite good in that role. He played Dessers through a few times, and you're talking about a couple of assists if Dessers takes those chances. So yeah, I certainly think Raskin as well was trying his best in that first half. I think you've seen a lot more of him in the second actually when they moved him a bit higher. But yeah, there was some sparks in there around that own goal, and I'm glad we got it because I think we just needed that breakthrough. Into the second half then, and Rangers made a couple of changes. They brought on Bailey Rice and they took off Connor Barron, and then they brought off Leon Balogun, they brought on Yanis Hadji. So they changed the shape. So obviously that comes back to the conversation we had at the beginning of the podcast, with things maybe change now going forward. They changed the shape. I think it really helped them. I thought overall in the second half, Rangers were much better. I know that Dundee, they scored again in that second half and they had chances, but Rangers had way more chances in that second half, in my opinion, than they did in the first, and I think it helped them. So again, credit to the management staff because they've just looked at it and they've ripped it up, right? They've went, this isn't working. We're not going to give it any more time. We're going to make 2 subs and we're going to change it, and that's it. And look, they've reaped the rewards of it. So again, credit to Barry Ferguson, credit to Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, Al McGregor. They've done well there. I'll just maybe summarise the start of that second half. Yeah, it was chaotic, to be honest with you. That is the best way to put it. I mean, I've got plenty of chances written down here. Igaman had the chance, it was just wide. Scott Tiffany should definitely score for Dundee. I mean, it swung to the back post, and I've got no idea how he doesn't put that in the back of the net. We've got the one for Dessers where he scores, but it's ruled as offside. Quite rarely it was offside. I think Dessers had a chance as well at this point. From a header, he puts it over the bar. Hadji over the bar. Adewumi hits the post for Dundee. I mean, there was chances on both sides. Both teams were going for it. And then, unfortunately, Dundee get their third. I think the ball comes through and John Suter kind of commits himself and he doesn't win it. And Simon Murray does well, actually. He kind of holds Dujon Sterling off and he creates that divide in the centre-back kind of area. And Scott Tiffany runs through it. And again, Iain, you've got to just hold your hands up sometimes. It's some finish again, isn't it? I mean, you're sitting there as a Rangers fan, obviously, hoping for the best. And we can do a lot better. Of course we can. But at the same time, I do like to give credit to our side. It's Jack Baldwin's getting no chance. We are unfortunately giving himself that opportunity again, but it's a good finish.
Yeah, I thought we were a bit unlucky here in the sense that Jeffries just came on the pitch like a minute or so before this. And he probably should do better for me to try and at least block the shot or get in the way or just put off Tiffany. But it's a great finish. The same as the first goal for me. Like, Button's not saving that. You mentioned Simon Murray's part in this, which might not be obvious, but as you say, he basically stands tall so that Sterling can't go anywhere and make that tackle. And it's like one of those assists where you don't even touch the ball kind of thing, because it's a massive part of that. But Jeffries the one, if you're looking at it from the Rangers' point of view, that he should be doing better. For me, he should at least try to do something to put him off. But once he doesn't, again, once that went in, I thought, we're not winning this. Like, at 2-1, I was still thinking, we'll be fine, we'll get 2 each eventually, we'll score late on to win. But at 3-1, I didn't see it happening. So my head was firmly dropped. And you mentioned a few of the problem things, like the Dessers chat. The Dessers one for me that he finally scored that was offside. It says a lot that my missus wasn't even watching. She was facing the wrong way. And she said, he'll probably be offside anyway. That's how ingrained my family are with me complaining about Dessers at this point. Like, I get he's so unlucky. And it's the same as the Fenerbahce one. He's so unlucky. It's just a toe. It's just a shoulder. But how can you be so unlucky so often? It's a proper pain of mine how often he's offside. But again, go back to it. Can't sit and slag him. He has won the game for us. I get all that. We'll get to that, of course. But yeah, my head was dropped at this point, thinking 3-1 down to Dundee. Like, I think the stat came up soon after that. That was Dessers' 8th chance. It was the first was it 7 home games Dundee hadn't won in. All these started coming off in McFadden. Just thought, this is just not going to be our day, is it? It's another one of those games we should win, we're not going to. But from here it gets positive. At least it's fun from this point on, thankfully.
Yeah, we're finally past the Dundee goals, right? So from now on, everyone listening should enjoy this part because we're going to talk about all the Rangers goals. But yeah, just on Dessers, I think it's another podcast in itself. And like I said, the podcast will be there tomorrow to go into these things in more detail. And look, if we hadn't won that game, it's very funny in football how a goal just changes your perspective on everything, right? And sometimes I try and take myself a little bit back from that. What I will say in recent weeks is, and actually since Barry Ferguson's came in, I think Cyriel Dessers got a lot better in terms of his movement and his dealings with defenders. I think he's running defenders a lot better. He's holding them off better.
He's not just dropping anymore.
Exactly.
All season or two, he's just been kind of getting a contact and dropping, complaining. He doesn't do it anymore. That's been a month or two. I've not seen it, and that's not a coincidence for me. That's someone saying, "Don't stop it. Just stop doing that," and it's working.
He's either realised himself that it doesn't work here in the Scottish domestic game, that you're not going to get it, or you're right, someone sat down with him and said, look, here is something that you need to work on. Like, you've got the size, you've got the strength, let's start using it, right? You don't have to buy us fouls. We want you to run the channels. We want you to do difficult stuff, and you'll get goals from that. So what I'll give him that, and what I'll also give him as well is he does get those chances, right?
He does.
I think you said it earlier. I would rather my striker was getting these chances and putting himself in areas to score goals. I think this is just what Cyriel Dessers is, right? He's never going to be that clinical number 9. And if we want him to be that, it's not going to happen. We're going to have to go and recruit someone to be that number 9. So I will try and be positive. I'm sure the guys that are on the podcast tomorrow will maybe break that down more and they'll be a wee bit more harsh with him, but yeah, I'll try and be positive as he did get the winner later on, and we'll come to that. I'll maybe group the next 2 goals together, Iain, because they're both very similar, right? They're both fantastic strikes from Rangers. It's James Tavernier with the first one, a really good bit of interchange in the kind of central zone for Dundee in their final third. And again, James Tavernier, what a strike. I mean, he's got that in his locker. We've seen it several times over the years. And then Tom Lawrence as well. I mean, at this point, I don't know about you, but I think when James Tavernier's goal went in, I thought, right, I think we'll definitely draw. Yeah. We'll definitely draw. Like, I just felt that. And then once the Tom Lawrence one went in, you're like, right, here we go. I mean, we get 10 minutes to go. We are going to win this. And obviously, we do it the last kick of the game, and we'll come to that. But yeah, both 2 fantastic strikes, Iain. And I think actually we probably deserved it because a lot of the chances we created for Dessers were a lot better chances and we didn't take them. That's just 2 wonder strikes from outside the box that have beat the goalkeeper and given themselves no chance. And then sometimes in football, you need that, right? If you can't break a side down, get into the box and create great chances, and you just strike it from the edge of the box, you take them, don't you? I think both players deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, it's probably the only 2 guys in this squad that can score their goals in a kind of strange way. Like, Tav, we know, can score kind of from anywhere, the way he's played this last decade for us, but when Tom Lawrence came on, you thought this is the game that suits him. And especially Diomande wasn't having a good game. Like, we have to say that he was really poor today for me. But when Lawrence came on, I thought just have a shot, just shoot. Like, whenever you get near the box, just shoot. I really like the Tav goal that we touched. Danilo does, just to kind of kill it, set it for him perfectly. That's what Danilo's very good at. He's a very clever player. He knows what players that his teammates want, and he'll know if I put this in a plate for Tav, he's at least getting us on target. And it's that Tav goal, I think, probably goal of the day for me. It's an absolute rocket. And the Lawrence one, as I said, it's what Tom Lawrence can do. Like, he gets a lot of criticism. He's certainly not suited for certain games, but a game like that, where you're up against that kind of packed in defence, they weren't ultra defensive today, Dundee. You've said that already. They were kind of giving as good as they got, but they were so compact and tight at the back, and we don't go wide. So it was going to take a wonder goal or 2 to get us those goals. And yeah, as you said, once it went 3 each, you see the players racing in for the ball. Everyone knows it's not like an offside or a dodgy one. Play's going to restart straight away. Your tails are up. You're thinking, we're winning this. Don't get me wrong, the next 10 minutes, they could have easily won it as well. It was very back and forth. Like, again, you don't watch it as a neutral when you're a Rangers fan, but as a neutral, if they were watching that game, you'd think, what a game. This is a real, very cliche, but a good advert for Scottish football kind of thing. Andy could have won that, and again, we'll come to it, but thankfully, we managed to get it done somehow.
Yeah, you're being fair there because Simon Murray hits a post as well for Dundee, so they definitely had the chances to win it, and Rangers were very open at the back at this stage because the players were pushing for it, and you know, that's exactly what I want to see, right? It's not. It's
A
never
draw would
going to
be
be good
nothing, would
enough.
it? So,
It is nothing, and I don't think Barry Ferguson's the type that I don't think he would ever go into that, a dressing room after the game if they'd brought it back to 3-3 and give them all a pat in the back and say well done for the comeback.
do you think? See, on that, do you think Clement would have? Because I think he would have been in the press conference and said, "Oh, we've done so well there to come back. We were 2-0 down, we were 3-1 down. He would have been buzzing, and
that's the difference, right?
For Ferguson, absolutely, yeah.
That's the difference in the mentality, and that's what's required. You're never going to get a manager or Barry Ferguson coming in there and saying that's good enough. Well done, guys. You were 3-1 down. You brought it back to 3-3. He would have been raging if they didn't win that game, regardless of even if it was a late equaliser. Barry Ferguson going to look at that and be like, "Oh well, that's a good result." And I think that is the big difference with this management staff. They've definitely raised the bar there, and I think these players realise that as well. You'd hope these players would realise that before, but I suppose if you're dealing with a different manager, his staff expectations a little bit lower, it probably does drain you a little bit and things change. But thankfully we've turned that around, and we're definitely seeing a different mental approach from these players. They're doing really well at that, and they're really performing at that level. Right, let's talk about the winner. Unbelievable. I mean, it's I can't actually. You might remind me. I can't actually remember who plays the ball over the top. It's like a clearance, isn't it? And I
think he picks out the pass, to be honest. When I sort of saw the one replay back, so again, maybe I'm just like glorifying Tav for just being Tav, but I think he thinks or sees at least that run for Dessers, which has worked a few times this season. Obviously, the Man United one's like the most famous moment of it happening, but I think he looks for Dessers, knowing how good Dessers' movement is, and obviously, like, it's not a perfect pass because it comes off a Dundee guy's head, but this is the thing I'll give credit for Dessers. He'll keep going, and he will. Absolutely. He's the one guy who thinks, this might follow me. Like this ball could nudge off his head. I'm getting this chance. And again, you said at the start, if you're the guy that scores the winner, no one really cares about all the misses before. Don't get me wrong, I still care about the 10 misses. But fair play to Dessers. How he can keep going after all that is an absolute miracle. What a guy.
That level of belief he's got in himself, Cyriel Dessers, is remarkable, really, because a lot of people doubt him, and he never doubts himself. And there would be a lot of strikers that would have looked at that game this evening and they would have went, I've missed 6 or 7 chances, and the head would have went down, and they wouldn't have still made the same runs, and they wouldn't have made themselves available for teammates, and they'd maybe just get hooked eventually because they weren't in the game. He continues to keep going, and he gets his rewards. And like you said, you've described it perfectly there. Regardless of whether Tav looks for it or not, it ends up being a fantastic ball. Dundee centre-back doesn't deal with it. Is it Donnelly? I'm not sure, actually. I can't. At this point, my head is scrambled. I'm gone.
Is Donnelly the one that didn't celebrate against us? Or, sorry, did celebrate against us, didn't celebrate against them? Hopefully that's him. That'd be nice.
I think it was him, but I might be wrong.
It's the same
at this point, I'm all over the place because you can just feel it, can't you? You can feel there's a chance coming. And Cyriel Dessers puts it in the back of the net, and I've been absolutely done. My missus has recorded me celebrating that goal, and I've went absolutely mental. And everyone should, that's why you follow football. That's why you follow Rangers, for those moments. And Iain, let's just talk about then Dessers. Those chances. We've said a few things about him, but at the end of the day, he gets the winner again, and that's exactly what you want in those moments.
See, I need to hold my hands up, because when Igaman came off for Danilo, I did put in a couple of group chats, like, for me, Dessers should be coming off here. It's clearly not going to be his day. And looking back at it, that would have been stupid, because, like you say, he will always get one. He might miss 3 or 4, he might miss 10, but he will get one. And the thing for me with Dessers is he's obviously, 45 goals and 100 for us now, I think the stat was that came off there. That's kind of ridiculous. Like, in a Rangers team that hasn't been successful, it hasn't had a good couple of years, to hit those kind of numbers is really impressive. Like, you do need to kind of hold your hands up to that. And it's just his mentality. I know we touched on it, but how easy and how often do you see footballers who miss a couple of chances and just start sort of toys at the pram, start getting a bit half-face, start blaming teammates? Never does it. It's a real credit to him that he can just go, oh, well, I'll get the next one. I'll get the next one. And just don't get it wrong. I'd much prefer he got there sooner, but it's a really good finish, that last goal. Like, it looks quite simple, just kind of touch it around the goalie, but you need to get enough of a connection on that to get it by, because my fear at first was he's got it by the goalie, but that defender's just going to lump it away, and he's just put enough power on it, enough spin on it, whatever it is, just to kind of crawl over the line. And as you said, we all went mental. Of course we did. It's such a strange club to follow, isn't it? Like people ask me why I'm so grey, and is it the kids? Is it the job? It's Rangers. It's this club. They do this to you. I know it's stupid because people will say, and you'll get the classic Celtic fans thing saying, it's still 10 points, whatever it is in the league. But these wins just help the club, help Ferguson, help the big games that we've got coming. Like, because I lost today, and we're all down the dumps again. We're all pissed off for a few days, thinking, oh God, what we're gonna see against Hibs next. But that win just keeps that positive momentum, that positive train going, and that can only be a good thing for us, for the whole squad, really.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going into 2 home games now against Hibs and that first tie against Bilbao. Well, that's got to give you confidence. That's got to give you belief in what you're doing. They were obviously poor in that first half today, but to come out in the second half and to get a result of that, it's great. And I think Barry Ferguson, again, deserves a lot of credit. He's certainly doing his best to be in the conversation for this job at the end of the season and on a permanent basis. I think there's still a wee bit to go on that, personally, and I don't think he would be the right man for me at this point, but he's doing absolutely everything he can, and that's all you want, isn't it? You want a manager to come in
especially like today, like we kind of touched on it at the halftime subs. Again, I don't like going back to Clement. We've done this, Clement, but we've seen so often this season that we've made that like for like sub, even when it's going wrong. Like, doesn't matter what formation we're playing, it was just, oh, you're a midfielder, so you'll come off for this midfielder. You're a winger, you'll do that. Whereas you mentioned Hadji for Balogun as a sub today. And yes, it's kind of obvious that we need to put another attacker on, we need to take a defender off. That makes sense, but it's quite a ballsy move to put Bailey Rice in there when he's not had much football. Barron's like kind of an established pro, obviously, compared to Rice. And it's thinking, well, you can do this. You can go and, I think, like you say, he saw something that we didn't have any control. We saw 2 or 3 guys try to do the same role, where it just sort of simplified things. It said, right, we'll put Rice there, you ping the passes, Raskin try and get involved in the play a bit more. And I think that was a big reason why we got a few more goals, got a few more bodies in the box, and just caused them more problems. And it's just little things like that. Like I was on the pod on Sunday night there with Craig saying that Ferguson and his tactical side of it, and it might not just be him, it might be the whole coaching setup, but the tactics and the changing of a game has been a lot more advanced than I ever thought it'd be under Ferguson, which is a bit maybe rude to say, like just assume he's going to kind of shout at them, but it's another little positive that, okay, that's something else I didn't think you could do or you could bring, but you have brought and you are bringing. So it's, again, another little positive to take away for him.
Yeah, I think him and his staff have displayed that they are tactically astute, right? They've shown that now, and you made a lot of good points there. I totally agree. It is very easy for Barry Ferguson to make changes at halftime, but it could be like for like. But he's looked at a Bailey Rice and he's looked at him. He's not looked at the age. He's not looked at the experience level. He's thought, you're the type of player I need right now to put into this game, so you're going in, right? So it's up to you now to take that opportunity. But I believe that you've got the ability to change this game. Now, did Bailey Rice change the game single-handedly? No, he didn't. But I did think that type of
I think he was injured for a lot of that second half, by the way.
He
was definitely struggling.
I don't know if you've seen Barry Ferguson screaming at him as well. Like, I'd love to see it back, but it's like he's screaming at him saying, you're staying, like, come on, like, you're staying on. Which, again, it's just a completely different mentality. It's like, look, you need to get through this. We need you to stay on this part. We've got 5 minutes to go. We can win this. We need your presence there. So, yeah, look, Bailey Rice wasn't the reason we won this game tonight, but I think it's more of what it shows that Barry Ferguson's willing to do. He's willing to take risks with his selections. He's willing to make brave substitutions when he has to. And again, tonight he gets the rewards. And we're coming away from Dens Park with 3 points. My heart rate is still through the roof, to be honest. I don't think I'll calm down for a couple of hours after watching that. But yeah, like you said, Iain, this is exactly why you follow Rangers, regardless of the gap in the league and things like that. We're all aware of that. No one's saying that this is everything resolved now because we've got that victory tonight, and no one's daft enough to say that. But at the end of the day, these are the type of things that make you fall in love with football, right? And keep you attached to the club. And that's all we want. We want to buy into something again. And Barry Ferguson's doing well to bring that back, and bring the fans back on board. And we'll see what happens in the summer. There's still a lot of football to be played. But I think tonight certainly helped his chances. And again, a lot of those players deserve credit. Didn't perform in the first half. Have to say they made up for it in the second half, getting that result. So fair play to them. And I think that's a good place to end it. There was a lot to get through there. So probably quite a long post-match reaction than usual. But I think we had to kind of jump into everything there, Iain. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. what I'll say is we are back tomorrow night. I think it's 7:30. I don't know who's on it, but we'll be back for a Sunday podcast just to go through all that in more detail. But yeah, Rangers have got the 3 points tonight, and it sets them up. It puts us in a really good place going into Hibs next week, who have been good form this season. And then it's Bilbao, and really that's the game that everyone will be looking at. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Seen a lot of comments there. Apologise, didn't get through a lot of them or any of them. We've just been trying to analyse that game, but really appreciate everyone tuning in and listening. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.